guys, and welcome to Step Unfiltered, episode 1. Today we're going to watch a video from Redacted, where Clayton is interviewing CIA MK Ultra whistleblower James Martinez. If you don't know who James Martinez is, let me introduce you. He is a survivor of the CIA's MK Ultra mind control program and leads the Freedom of Thought Foundation, where they cover Operation Mind Control and the effects of government-sanctioned mind control on the public. So James Martinez goes deep into the plan that's being used on us now, a plan to infuse us with technology and upload us to the cloud, basically to have full control of our mind, body, and spirit.
In the early 90s, in the late 80s, the United States was just getting used to the possibility that there are extraterrestrials or aliens, that we're not alone. And during that time, the abduction phenomena had just started. And this was a very secret thing going on behind the scenes for quite some time until it finally broke through into US media environments. So during that time in history, I had already, through my own investigations and meeting people and phone calls, was starting to interface with people that had this type of experiences, but we didn't know. We didn't know the whole story about what was going on, because I've been kind of a part of the disclosure movement in a certain fashion related to MK Ultra, because I was the gentleman that came to Walter Board, who wrote the book Operation Mind Control, the first one in 1978. This was the exposure of the Churchwater hearings in relation to the using of human subjects, Americans, for neuroscience in forms of torture, LSD, child abduction, and so forth, as an R&D project that was already in motion that came into the United States after World War II. So,
and can I stop you there? I know maybe our audience might not be familiar, but the CIA was like using hospitals and on unwitting patients who were just in the hospitals. They had no idea. Some of them just given LSD by the CIA, basically. If memory serves, one of them jumped out of a window at a hospital. Because he was given LSD by the CIA, he had no idea, right? So a lot of these, they were like civilian buildings that were being used for MK Ultra, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was part of it, was the drug part, research into drugs and psychedelics. And that was fully embedded in the culture in the 60s. My business partner and fellow whistleblower was named Walter Board. He started the underground press syndicate out of New York called the East Village Other. And he really became famous and infamous after he wrote that book in 1978, Operation.
Okay, guys, so they have basically been experimenting on us for years, okay? And it is not conspiracy anymore. But if you notice, we still can't talk about it openly. People will still look at you like you're crazy, like you deserve to be in a mental hospital. It's just not proper, I guess, And that too is a setup. Everything we watch, everything that we listen to, it is all put out there by plan. If they didn't want us to know about these files, they would not be out there. It's all a distraction, right? But you know what's really not really out there in headlines the way it should be? Is this topic right here. How about the fact that in the Epstein files, Bill Gates is openly discussing the simulation, right? The pandemic, it was plotted before it ever even came out. And there's proof of that. But that's not really in headlines the way it should be. We need to really wake up. And that's the reason why I started this channel. I started it after watching this episode of Redacted. Okay. I've wanted to do one for a long time, but this is what really pushed me. We need more people being aware more people talking about what's going on. What he gets into is some really scary stuff. And this isn't to push fear. It's really not. It's just what we really need to be aware of. There's more of us than there are of them, guys. But if we are stuck, if we're just stuck not in reality where they want us, doesn't matter how many of us there are. We're useless. All right, let's get back to it.
Mind control. I came in many, many years later when we posted and published Operation Mind Control Volume 2, the Special Researchers Edition, where I brought testimony into him about what essentially the behavioral science was used for and how they were faking alien abductions and using hypnosis.
Gotta stop again, guys. I'm sorry. So they were faking alien abductions back then. Isn't it kind of funny how now they're starting to talk about aliens and they're going to release all the files? I've always believed in aliens, but I'm really concerned that it is Project Bluebeam. I need to do a lot more digging into this, but why would they fake alien abductions? What would the reason be for that? The only real reason would be if you were planning something big in the future.
Screen and scramble memory technology, drugs, and advanced technology on the public. So that was new news at that time and very secret, very, very, very secret in the early 90s. So when I met him, I said, okay, he found out, okay, this is what the technology is used for. And I brought in the aspect, okay, this is, they're being able to manipulate consciousness enough to create a fake abduction and make it intense enough that the person will have post-traumatic stress disorder and all sorts of syndromes related to the trauma event. Because CIA and all of that stuff related to UTRA was about behavior modification. And the utilization of behavior modification for maintaining secrets, passing messages on, sex slavery, and codification of information and so forth. So that's how I met him in the early 90s, because I had already been involved in the disclosure aspect with big media people behind the scenes. One of them was Bob Guccione at New York, who ran Penthouse magazine. If people look up The Alien Penthouse magazine, they'll find that was where I did that. That was a big deal back then, and it was all over the news when that happened. But part of the information was we were finding out that they were using behavior modification technology for this type of activity. So that's how I met Walter Bowert. And then both of us put out Volume 2, Operation Mind Control Volume 2, which went into all the effects of the neuroscience on culture, what was happening in court cases, what was happening in the mental health business, because it is a business, what was the DSM.
Mental health is a business. That is something that should we're not mad enough, guys. Everybody has been affected by mental health. I'm sure everybody has a family member who has dealt with serious mental health, right? They've been affected by it. People have died from it. We've had family members who died from it, loved ones. To think that this is a business, we're not mad enough. And that's because we are so distracted. They keep us distracted. We get mad for a minute and we move on, right? And that's what they're betting on. I don't know what it will take. Like he shares more in this video. Everything begins in court and ends in court. So we really need this to get into the courts. That's how we really take down these mega power elites in court and by resisting. Let's get back to it.
5 saying about dissociative identity disorder and how that affects behavior, consciousness, business, everything. All those things, we put the research into that book, and then we published it very quietly. And we formed what was called, at that point, the Freedom of Thought Foundation, which basically was a 501c3 that stood for the right and freedom to have cognitive liberty, or the right to your own thoughts, the right to your own identity, the right to all things, the right to your own brain, the right to your sovereign self for being here, for having an existence that's not controlled by somebody else. We were the first to do that. And back then, Nobody knew anything about this at all. They barely knew what was going on at all. There was a very small handful of people that was involved with this. Colonel Fletcher Prouty was involved. Colonel Tom Bearden was involved. Walter Boat was involved. I was involved. We had to sign agreements with psychiatrists and psychologists because they were terrified because a lot of their clients had been abused in various programs and they became clients. So we were looking at all the neuroscience and the effects of the neuroscience on culture in the United States. So this is what's going on behind the scenes, unbeknownst to basically everybody. The behavior.
And what years are we talking about here?
This was
in the MK Ultra program going from the 1950s to the 1970s, but of course we've done interviews on this show where it got, people think it ended in the 70s, but it became even more robust.
We're in it. We're in it right now, which is the
like he says, we're in it, guys. Now that they brought up the UFOs, I think this is really we are really in it. When did you ever think that you'd hear a president or a past president actually say, yep, there's UFOs? I never seen one, but they exist. They've been planning this for a long time, guys, and I really think it's here. We see it in kind of what the Democrats are pushing, right? The open borders. They want that chaos here because they don't want us to have the patriotism to this country that will make us lose our strength, our identity, and they want that. But this is not a right or a left thing. They are two wings on the same bird, okay? They are controlled by something deeper, right? Our government, is not the top dogs, right? We have shadow government, the shadow government, which is like just made of super powerful people. And they are globalists. They're globalists and they're sick. They're demonic. And we're in it now.
Reason why I'm coming out and telling everybody now, because there's been movies, media, people have been talking about this, what we did all over the place. People can handle it now, but what they can handle and maybe not be able to handle is the reason why I'm doing this interview in the first place and why I was put in touch with you, because I was given a lot of people to talk to, and you were on the list because initially when the 501c3 was set up, it was a nonprofit foundation to educate the public about how important it is to maintain our cognitive liberty. This supersedes the Constitution, law, everything, right? It's your right to have your own thoughts. And as an attorney and people associated with law, they're kind of getting acquainted with this now and what this is going to mean to human rights. So to the point reason I came here to talk to you is because recently I was asked to be the chief advisor on a committee related to the brain-computer interface and its relation to the international standards for technology. That basically is they're a group of countries all over the world, and they all have committees that represent their country. Those committees determine what the standards are going to be for technology when it's commercialized and goes all over the world. Like, for instance, the phone or a toaster or whatever, it's got to meet certain safety standards and all this type of stuff. These committees are determining public policy about what's going to happen when you interface the brain, the computer, AI, and quantum. That's going to end everything. Period. It's the end. It's the initiation of the decapitation of our relationship to God. Will become cybernetic. Will become, instead of carbon, will be silicon-based life forms, cybernetics.
Basically, they are bringing in the mark of the beast. You do not have to be religious to spiritual. Religion is man-made rules and regulations. Spirituality is just the relationship with God, okay? And we are spiritual beings. And they are trying to take that away. They are satanic. They're devil worshippers. I heard a documentary with Epstein where he was saying spirits are very real. And when they said, are you afraid of them? And he said, yes. Okay, they worship the devil. That's why they're afraid of them. And They don't want us to have our free will. From everything that I've learned, that's what I get out of it. They are using us as experiments, as guinea pigs. They've been planning this for a very long time, and they are bringing in the Antichrist, whether I think he's here already. That's some scary shit, guys. Like, what is going on?
And they're going to do this via voluntary compliance. Most people will walk right into it, not even knowing that they're doing it or want to do it. Because there's portions of the population all over the world, in the younger generations, that feel that humanity has no hope at all, and they're going to fuse with this technology already. So the brain-computer interface, it's tied in to everything. All our warfare systems, all our banking systems, all our health systems, all in the ways we do commerce and move about in culture. This is the extinction level event because you no longer are an organic free will human being. You're now fused, tied into the cloud. And there's a documentary film crew that's recently contacted me, and I've talked to many people behind the scenes now, because I really initially I could have commercialized myself in this chapter of my life quite well and made a huge name for myself. I don't know, the mind control guy, but I really didn't want to do that. I've not been really public, not as much as I used to be, because I've always been in the solution orientated thing. Don't tell an audience just a problem without telling them a solution.
Okay, so here James shares that the solution will be to declare your cognitive rights with the court. You're going to have to do that now while you are still a human being, because James says, I've heard this other places too, that once you have the technology within you and it is controlling you, you are no longer a human being. You are not a free human being. Also, you are controlled, you are owned, and you are not fully human. Therefore, you will not be able to declare your cognitive rights anymore. The courts will not be able to help you, which is sickening considering you should be a victim. Aren't you a victim at that point? But here's the catch. Do you ever read your terms or conditions on any of your digital downloads, any of the apps, the updates on your phone? Do you read any of those terms and conditions? 99.9% of people don't. And here's another thing. If you don't agree to the terms, it doesn't let you download it. So you might as well just take your phone and bring it back, right? Quite honestly, that's what we all should be doing. We won't, but we should. So James says right now, you declare your cognitive rights. You write down that you do not give any body or anything, no entity, nobody rights to your mind, to your body, to your spirit, that you do not want any foreign technologies implanted within you. And you take this document and you bring it down to the court and you have it filed with the court. This way, when the time comes and it starts going to court or you've been affected by it, you have safeguarded yourself. From this moment on, I do think it's really important that we begin to read all of the terms before we just blindly agree to them. I know my Apple Watch, for all of you who have an Apple Watch, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There's an app that pops up that wants you to give the rights to them to have all of your blood pressure, your pulse, all of the readings. They want all of your, goodness, I'm having a mental freeze. They want your health recorded for them. They want to keep track of that. Why? Why do they want that? And I didn't think much of it then, but now it kind of all connects. And you just You sign it, you just hit a little tab and you sign it away. You don't even read the terms of that. I wish I did read the terms of that though. So if you come across that, read the terms and get back to me. I would love to hear in the comments your thoughts on this. Any new information that you have on this subject. It is time for us to really become a community, to talk, to spread awareness, to be awakened, not to be blindly just focusing on the headlines of the news, right? I want to start looking at all of the things they're not talking about on the news. This subject, why is this subject not headlines, right? We know the answer to that. We have families. We have loved ones, guys. We've got to wake up. And again, the reason why I started this podcast, what really pushed me was this episode. That's why I made it my first episode, because I said to myself, what can I do about this? I'm like, I can't do anything about this. I'm like, no, but you know what? I could spread awareness. I could talk about it, bring some light to it, be a platform. That's all I can do. But if enough of us are doing that, are spreading the awareness, or talking about it, pushing it to be discussed in the courts, and for our representatives to start actually doing their jobs, and start pressuring them to do something about it, maybe we'll actually win this thing. I don't know, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Please like, subscribe, and stay with me. This is day 1, episode 1, guys. So stay with me for the journey. So one day you can say, I'm her day 1 viewer. Thank y'all so much for hanging out. And until next week, I will see you then. Be safe, stay free, stay open-minded, and stay aware.